Never let it be said that I don't listen to my audience. And one of the things they've been saying very loudly over the past couple of weeks is, Drinker, you should watch K-Pop Demon Hunters. It's positively bitching. Drinker, you're always complaining about a lack of good female leads. Well, K-Pop Demon Hunters shows you how it should. Drinker, exactly review K-Pop Demon Hunters or I'll find out where you drink. Shut up! Alright, fine, I'll watch it. Are you happy now?
2 hours later.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, let me caveat that by saying that 40-year-old white guys from Scotland are probably not the target audience for this movie, and I'd be lying if I said this was the kind of thing I'm normally into, which is probably to its credit, really, because if even someone like me can watch it and be entertained, well, it must be doing something right. And thinking about it now, K-Pop Demon Hunters actually does a lot of things right. Things that Hollywood seemed to have forgotten about 10 years ago, crafting a neat little narrative around a trio of goofy, likeable characters with a surprising amount of depth and complexity, a playful jab at the excesses and absurdities of K-pop music and the obsessive fan culture that surrounds it, a modern exploration of Korean folklore and spirituality, brought home by impressively good animation and an annoyingly catchy soundtrack that sticks with you way longer than it should. Believe me, I know. It's not exactly deep or life-changing, and at times it glosses over stuff that probably needed a bit more screen time, but what it is a fun, charming little adventure that left me thinking, yeah, that was alright actually. So join me, my little soda pops, as I give you a rundown of the plots. The movie's set in Korea and centres around an ongoing war between demons trying to consume the souls of every human on Earth, and the people fighting to keep them sealed away in the underworlds. They do this by creating a magical energy barrier called the Hon Moon, which is maintained and strengthened by harnessing the collective goodwill and spiritual power of humanity through the power of song. Yeah, just stick with me on this. Each new generation sees the creation of 3 new demon hunters whose job it is to come together, inspire humanity through their music to strengthen the Hon Moon, and kill the occasional demon who manages to sneak through gaps in the defences. In this case, it all culminates in the present day with Rumi, Mira and Zoe, who've come together to form the K-pop group Huntrix, or Hunter X. Ah, fuck, I'm old. Anyway, Huntrix have become a worldwide sensation, selling out arenas and going on world tours. The girls are prepping for the release of their biggest song yet, Golden, which should in theory be enough to finally seal the rift between our world and the demon world forever. But then, oh no, lead singer Rumi starts to lose her singing voice. Whatever could be at play here? Well, it turns out that it's more than just a bad case of laryngitis. Young Rumi's actually been hiding a secret from her bandmates this whole time. She's actually half demon herself.
No way! Yes way!
And the demonic influence is becoming increasingly difficult for her to hide. Meanwhile, the demons themselves are getting a bit tired of all this shit and hatch a plan to destroy the Hon Moon so that they can invade Earth in full force. Their plan is to send a bunch of hot young demons in human form to create a rival boy band called the Saja Boys that'll steal away Huntrix's fans, weaken the Hon Moon until it finally collapses. Things are complicated when the leader of the Saja Boys falls in love with Rumi when he recognises a kindred spirit in her. But when the two bands are pitched against each other in a televised competition being broadcast to the whole world, which side will ultimately emerge victorious? Now, what I'm describing probably sounds completely bonkers, because it is, but part of the charm of K-Pop Demon Hunters is that it knows how silly it is, and instead of backing away from it or trying to tone it all down to make its story more grounded, instead it just says, fuck it, and throws itself right in. It dares to have fun with its goofy premise, and it invites you to have fun too. Director Maggie Chang apparently wanted to tell a story that would fuse together ancient Korean mysticism and folklore with the ultra-modern K-pop of today, and if that's the case then, well, mission accomplished, Miss Chang. The movie definitely takes a few swipes at the flashy, superficial, overproduced excesses of K-pop music, the manufactured stars and rivalries, the rabid fan bases and the insane workloads, but for the most part it all feels pretty good-natured and fun. I've talked a lot on this channel about the problems modern Hollywood seems to have with writing decent, well-rounded female characters who actually feel like human beings, either serving up boring, flawless, idealised fantasy figures who are never never allowed to fail at anything, or brash, arrogant, abrasive girl bosses who bulldoze their way through everything and everyone around them. But K-Pop Demon Hunters does something almost unheard of in modern entertainment. It gives us a trio of female characters who are actually likable.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I know, I was just as surprised as you, but ignore the hyper-stylized visuals and you'll see that the Huntrix girls are a quirky, funny, and charmingly goofy group of friends, each with their own hang-ups and insecurities that gradually get exposed and tested in the course of the movie. Obviously, Rumi's the centerpiece of the group and the movie, but the other two play well off each other, and I love how the animators give them crazy anime-style facial expressions when they're super excited about something. On that subject, I should probably give a nod to the visuals here that lie somewhere between Arcane and Blue Eye Samurai in terms of style, fluidity, and detail. It's not the most technically impressive animated movie you'll ever see, but it's definitely got a style and character all of its own, and some of the musical numbers especially are fucking packed with energy and creativity. Beyond the superficial stuff though, I think there's some neat themes in this movie about the importance of personal acceptance, understanding differences, and overcoming prejudice. Rumi's struggle against her demon heritage is a pretty obvious stand-in for anything from racial or sexual identity to social isolation or even body image. Whatever you care to project onto it, the film's message about coming to terms with our flaws and differences and accepting them as part of ourselves instead of trying to suppress or erase them is a pretty universal idea that works well enough in this context and generally doesn't come across as preachy or overbearing. Likewise, Jinu's an interesting antagonist with more depth to his character than you might expect and a few revelations about his backstory that reframe him in different contexts throughout the story. In other words, he's not 100% evil, but you can definitely understand why he is who he is, and to some extent how demons come to exist in Korean folklore. They're less the evil monsters that we imagine over here in the West, and more like flawed spirits haunted by guilt and shame. It's one of those weird little things that's hard to define objectively, but I think sometimes you can just feel when a movie was made with good intentions, instead of the writer projecting all of their personal hang-ups and petty grudges onto the screenplay, and K-Pop Demon Hunters is definitely in the former category. If I had to single out any flaws in this movie, I'd say that some characters and narrative elements aren't all that well fleshed out. Like Celine, the girl's trainer and a former hunter herself, who doesn't get much in the way of backstory or explanation. She's just kind of there, dropped into the narrative whenever it's convenient and then forgotten when it's not. Likewise, Rumi losing her voice and grappling with the demonic influence taking over her is a pretty major plot point for most of the movie, but I'm not sure I completely understand how it gets resolved. It just kind of goes away because the plot needs things to get moving along. I guess it's kind of implied that her relationship with Jinu helps her come to terms with who she is and make peace with it rather than struggling against it. But again, I'm not sure what that means for her character going forwards. Is she just like a good demon now who never has to worry about falling to the dark side again, or what? Nah, whatever. You're probably looking at the wrong guy to be understanding the finer points of Korean mysticism. All this is kind of just nitpicking though, and it shouldn't detract from what is for the most part a pretty enjoyable movie. I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but I had a lot of fun with K-Pop Demon Hunters. It's definitely not my usual genre, and I'm guessing a lot of people watching this video either won't care or might be actively repelled by the visuals and the hyper-energetic pop music. But all I'll say to that is that if you can look past the superficials, well, there's actually a decent little story to be enjoyed here. And if you're able to go into it with an open mind, well, you might find a bit more here than you expected. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.